Mr. Speaker, I am the ranking member on the Asia Subcommittee and the founder of the Sindh Caucus. In those two roles, I have focused on human rights and the rule of law in Pakistan, and particularly in its perhaps largest province, Sindh, comprising most of southern Pakistan. And we have dedicated ourselves in the Sindh Caucus to efforts to preserve the culture and the language of the Sindhi people, and particularly their dedication to religious tolerance. Unfortunately, the human rights picture in Pakistan and in Sindh are not good. I'd like to say a few words about the disappearance of Punjal Saryo, the leader of the Voice of the Missing Persons of Sindh movement, and about the very serious problem of disappearances in Sindh, in southern Pakistan. Just this past summer, Punjal Saryo led a march between Sindh's two major cities, Hyderabad to Karachi, demanding accountability for Sindhi activists who have been abducted by Pakistani security forces or simply disappeared. Where is Punjal now? It appears that he too has fallen victim to the very serious forces that he marched against. Punjal's case is hardly an isolated one. The Human Rights Commission of Pakistan reported that over 700 people were disappeared, kidnapped and never heard of again in Pakistan in the year 2016 alone. In the past year, the United Nations Human Rights Committee, Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, and the State Department's own report on human rights have all noted serious concerns about extrajudicial and targeted killings and disappearances in Pakistan, and particularly in Sindh. Elements of the government or military see an opportunity to simply make their opponents disappear. Few particulars. In 2016, the Amnesty International reported that the Pakistani security forces had, and these are their words, committed human rights violations with almost total impunity, unquote. While Human Rights Watch observed that law enforcement and security agencies remained unaccountable for human rights violations, unquote. And the State Department itself noted in Pakistan, quote, the most serious human rights problems were extrajudicial and targeted killings, disappearances, torture, the lack of the rule of law, unquote. 2 years ago, in 2015, Sindhi leader Dr. Anwar Lagaria was brutally murdered in Pakistan. Days before his death, he had sent a memorandum to President Barack Obama about human rights violations by the Pakistani military and its ISI, the Inter-Service Intelligence Agency, an important part of the Pakistani military. I attended a memorial service for Dr. Lagari here in Washington and have come to know of his work for human rights for the Sindhi people of southern Pakistan. The Pakistani government has not been responsive to numerous inquiries into the reason for Dr. Lagaria's death and for why his perpetrators have not been brought to justice. 2 months ago, on August 18th, I sent a letter to the Acting Assistant Secretary of State for South and Central Asian Affairs and to the U.S. Ambassador to Pakistan expressing strong concerns about human rights violations of the Pakistani government in Sindh. 6 of my House colleagues, 3 Democrats and 3 Republicans, joined me in that effort. There are other human rights concerns in Pakistan that I should also bring to the attention of this House. The people of Sindh face religious extremist attacks, ISIS, for example, claimed responsibility for an attack on a Sufi shrine in Sindh that killed 80 people. And yet the government has not acted to protect religious minorities and in general has not acted to protect the people of Sindh from Islamic extremism. In addition, in Sindh, there are forced conversions of Sindhi girls belonging to minority communities. While the numbers are unclear, reports suggest that every year, perhaps 1,000 girls and young women in Pakistan, including many in Sindh, are forcibly converted upon marriage, marriage not of their choice, to Muslim men. The Pakistani government has not done enough to stop this practice, and reform measures have been circumvented and not enforced. Human rights abuses of this type cannot go unanswered. Activists disappear under suspicious circumstances. It is our obligation to speak out and demand accountability. These disappearances and other violations of human rights should be a major topic of conversation in all bilateral discussions between our government and the government in Islamabad.